Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this because today we are going to unlock something incredibly powerful and we're going to do it fast. Seriously, if you ever felt intimidated by learning a new language, just drop that feeling right now. Today, we're equipping you with the absolute basics of Spanish greetings and introductions, and you are literally going to be speaking by the end of this. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Speaking a new language in 5 minutes? Sounds like a huge promise, right? But here is the secret. Successful language learning is all about your reaction to the unfamiliar. Don't look at Spanish as this tedious chore where you're memorizing endless grammar rules. Instead, think of communicating in Spanish like an exciting puzzle. And it's a puzzle we're gonna solve together, right now. We're looking for patterns, we're practicing out loud, and we're building your confidence step by step. So the crucial point is really captured by one massive number, 500 million. According to the UN, Spanish is the third most spoken language in the entire world. And it's not just halfway across the globe, it's right next door. Almost 40 million people in the United States speak Spanish at home. To put that into perspective, that's actually more Spanish speakers in the US than there are in Spain. Acquiring Spanish broadens your horizons immensely because there are literally 500 million people waiting to talk to you. So let's get you ready for that very first conversation. Okay, to speak confidently, you absolutely need this secret weapon, the golden rule of Spanish vowels. Unlike English, where our vowels kind of slide all over the place, Spanish vowels are pure, short, and totally uniform. They stay exactly the same from beginning to end. So the letter A makes an ah sound, like in the word casa. Easy enough, right? But listen to E. It makes the sound in the English word take, but you have to keep it short. Don't drag it out into an E. The letter I sounds like fee, no I. O sounds like toll, no ow at the end. And U sounds like rule, no oo. Honestly, if you just keep those vowels crisp, you instantly sound so much more like a native speaker. Well, let's put that into practice right now with the absolute classic greeting. Remember, in Spanish, the H is completely silent, and that O is short and crisp. I'm going to say it, and I want you to literally repeat after me out loud wherever you are right now. Ready? Hola. Let's try it one more time. Hola. Perfect. You just took your very first step. Now, let's add another layer to the puzzle. To keep a conversation going, a native speaker will usually follow up with a friendly question, kind of like asking, how's it going? Notice the accent over the E and how the upside-down question mark actually frames the sentence at the beginning. Let's try pronouncing that together out loud, keeping that pure E sound and that crisp ah sound. Ready? ¿Qué tal? Once more, with a bit of a friendly, upbeat tone. ¿Qué tal? Great job. Now, context is everything. If you're stepping out into a beautiful morning, you're obviously going to want to say good morning. In Spanish, that's Buenos días. Notice how that I in días is super sharp, just like the word fee. Say it with me. Buenos días. Excellent. And as the sun sets and we move into the evening, our greeting shifts just as simply. To say good evening or good night, we say Buenas noches. And this brilliantly illustrates how subtle the shift is, moving from buenos in the morning to buenas at night. Give it a try out loud. Buenas noches. Fantastic. Okay, now we really need to talk about a very important cultural pivot in Spanish. It's the whole difference between informal and formal speech. If you want to ask someone, how are you basically have two choices depending on who you're talking to. If it's a family member, a buddy, or someone your own age that you know pretty well, you use the informal to form. You ask, ¿Cómo estás? But if you're talking to a stranger, someone older, or maybe you're in a professional setting where you want to show some respect, you use the formal usted form. Notice how you just drop the S at the end and ask, ¿Cómo está usted? As a pro tip, if you're ever unsure, it's always safer to just use usted, so you don't accidentally come across as rude. So now that you've said hello, it's time to actually introduce yourself. Here is your foundational toolkit. You basically have 3 totally interchangeable ways to say your name. You can say me llamo, which literally means I call myself. You can say soy, which simply means I am. Or you can say mi nombre es, which translates exactly to my name is. And when they tell you their name, you seal the deal with mucho gusto, which means nice to meet you. All right, it's time to bring all of this together into the real world. Let's set the scene. Imagine the Gonzalez Fallas family. They're completely surrounded by cardboard boxes because they just moved into a new neighborhood called Villa Celeste. They're about to step outside and start meeting their new neighbors for the very first time. Let's listen in on their conversations and test out what we've learned. Follow along as we break down these friendly little exchanges. Here's our first interaction. Alejandra is meeting her neighbor Luisa in a super friendly, casual way. Alejandra says, Hola, me llamo Alejandra. Él es mi hijo Pablo. So she's saying, hello, my name is Alejandra, he is my son Pablo. And Luisa responds super enthusiastically, Encantada, mi nombre es Luisa. Encantada is such a great word. It means pleased to meet you. And notice how she uses the A at the end because she's a woman speaking. Take a second to process that friendly exchange. See how naturally the pieces fit together?
Let's move to and see how this builds when the husbands actually meet. This interaction is slightly more formal. Carlos approaches his neighbor Esteban. Esteban starts off by greeting Carlos and his family, saying, Hola, ¿cómo están? Asking, how are you, but in the plural. Carlos answers, Bien, gracias. ¿Cómo se llama usted? Notice that. Carlos uses the formal usted because they are strangers showing respect to one another. Fine, thanks. What is your name? Carlos then says, Me llamo Carlos. And Esteban replies, Soy Esteban, mucho gusto. I am Esteban, nice to meet you. You see how seamlessly they just mix and match those introduction tools?
Finally, let's look at a really snappy mixed exchange with the younger generation. Pablo introduces his sister to Luisa. He says, Ella es mi hermana Marisol. She is my sister Marisol. Notice how Marisol uses our super casual greeting, ¿Qué tal? And Luisa responds positively, Muy bien, gracias. Very well, thank you. In just a few lines of dialogue, we've seen greetings, formal and informal check-ins, and polite introductions. It's really that simple. Of course, every good conversation eventually has to come to an end, and you have a whole variety of ways to say the perfect goodbye. You've got your standard adios and this super casual ciao. But now, what's really interesting about this slide is the word hasta. In Spanish, hasta basically means until. So hasta luego is literally until later. Hasta mañana is until tomorrow. Hasta pronto is until soon. It's just a fantastic logical pattern. Once you know hasta, you just plug in whenever you plan to see the person next. Or, you can just keep it totally simple with nos vemos, which means we'll see each other, or just see ya. And just like that, you have the complete foundation to start a conversation in Spanish. You know the vowels, the greetings, the cultural rules of respect, and the perfect goodbyes. So I really want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Who will you say hola to today? Remember, there are literally 500 million people out there speaking this beautiful language. Please don't let your new skills just sit on a shelf. Step out into the real world, find a Spanish speaker, and use what you've learned right now. Until next time, keep learning and hasta pronto!